Good day, everyone. And our topic is going to be about planning IT project resources. So, for a project to be successful, as what they say, failing to plan is planning to fail. So, that's why it's very important that we are also able to identify all the needed resources of our project. So, like in the first definition here of resources, IT projects require time, money, people, and technology. Resources provide the means for achieving a project's goal and also act as a constraint. So there are three types of resources in project management. In Microsoft Project, this is actually a software. In Microsoft Project, resources can be anything required to perform tasks. Could be people, equipment, facilities, materials, and even costs. These are categorized into three main resource types: work, materials, and costs. So for the resource plan or planning, it's actually a process of allocating tasks to team members based on their capacity, skill sets, and the best fit for the job. So like what I've mentioned, that celebrities are also earning through projects. So they have to also identify the organizers of the project, like the director, producer. They have to identify the correct actors, actresses, lightsmen, etc., who have the necessary or appropriate skill set for that particular role or task. And that's also the same for the IT project. So for the importance of resource planning, could you please read the first one? Aboganda, Emmanuel.
Maximum resource utilization, ensuring that each member of the project has all the necessary skill sets to carry out assigned tasks.
Okay. So like what your classmate mentioned, you have to ensure that each member of the project has all the necessary skill sets. Like if one has to be in charge of the database, so what particular database should that team member possess? Okay, what particular database skill? So if it's going to be Oracle, then that person should be adept or skilled in Oracle, and so on and so forth. So that's maximizing resource allocation. Now, on-time delivery means that companies are also on a tight schedule because they have to make sure their project will be delivered on the deadline or even earlier than the deadline. So doing the on-time delivery will be, of course, necessitating the need for keeping all your team members right on track of the schedule. So if you all know the schedule, like what pace are you doing at a particular point in time, then that's how you will also be able to meet your deadline. And aside from that, you also achieve customer satisfaction and loyalty because they've tried and tested you already. They will want to come back for more services from you. Now, aside from that, the on budget delivery. Could you please read this? May we have Danielle Ayuban?
Ma'am, rinig ba ako, ma'am?
Yes.
On budget delivery, companies also strive to complete projects on budget. Overspending can cause project cancellations, miss revenue, and reduce profitability without a clear understanding of resources and resource capacity. Managing budgets is a shot in the dark.
Okay, thank you. So your classmate Danielle just mentioned you have to strive to complete your projects within budget. Why within budget? Because of course you cannot give the project for free, right? You have to pay for the necessary software, the hardware, or you have to pay for your the people who will also be developing the system. So you have to ensure that the contract, the budget in the contract, stated in the contract, is going to be the amount that you will only spend. Because like what is mentioned here, overspending can cause project cancellations because your client may not want to pay for more than what he intended at the first place. So, or on the first place. So next is predictable project timelines. When you say timeline, again, we have a schedule to follow. So once you are planning your project, as what's mentioned here, you also have to understand the available resources and skill sets so that you can estimate the amount of time required to perform individual tasks and to complete each project. That knowledge enables organizations to plan well into the future as well as plan for changes, disruptions, or new opportunities. Like right now, the cost of fuel has really skyrocketed. So if you're going to be planning your project timelines, you also have to ensure that aside from your budget, so you'll also be able to meet your targets based on the skill set of each person. Because if the cost of fuel increased, your people may also ask for higher salary. So you have to check also the budget and the timeline, like when will the different developers, when should they finish your project? So that's why you have to make sure you can predict the project timelines. And if ever there's a disruption, like, there's a holiday, so you already know that you should add another day to the deadline if ever that is the case. Aside from that, we also have the improved project flow. So like you have a diagram here. Okay, so in this diagram, it's actually a process flow chart. And what happens here is that this example will help you to achieve faster project flow through, of course, the right people working on the right projects at the right time. So your projects can move forward at maximum speed with fewer mistakes. So like here is the inspection, okay, after the receipt, and after the inspection, there's the process, or the decision symbol. Is the material okay or not? And the supplier, if not okay, meaning return it. If okay, material storage, and so on and so forth. So with this process, it's going to help improve the project flow. So those are the 5 importance of resource planning. Now we move on to the core elements of a resource plan. So as I've always mentioned, the people. The people is actually in the core necessity of your business. I also know this, or I've heard from this CEO, no? He went to, I think that's Myanmar, another country in Southeast Asia. They're used to hiring people in the Philippines. And in the Philippines, we have a lot of skilled individuals. However, when they went to another country, they realized that they cannot find the right people there. So they have what we call an undermanned project. So that's a consequence if you don't have the skilled personnel or the right people for the job. So that's why it's very important that we, of course, get the right people, train them, to be able to do the project well. Now, another is skill sets, capacity, availability, and utilization. So once you have the people in place, the next is, what is the capacity, the total capacity of your people with specific skill sets? So example, if you only have 2 developers with highly desired skills, you need to know exactly how and when those skills will be used. You must know when those developers have availability and whether the work they're doing could be reassigned to others. So that's why in this diagram, as mentioned, you have your experience, right? So this is all about skill set. There's the experience, there's the competence, training, ability, knowledge, learning, and advanced training. So if you are going to be utilizing the skill sets of your people, like maybe in your project, the one that you're going to be doing or you're doing, you have to allot or assign the right people for the right task in order for you to utilize each person's skill set well. Next is time. So obviously, that's what they say, that time is gold. So time tracking is a mechanism that measures progress. In your Gantt chart, you should be able to see the different deadlines for each phase or task, so that you'll know if you're performing well within the budget and as scheduled. Next is data. So of course, you need to maximize resource utilization, okay, and ensure projects remain on time and on budget. But how will you do this? Of course, your data will help you. So the data from the past projects can be used to forecast the cost and time requirements of future work. That's why data is also very important. Next is accurate forecasting. For your project to be successful and for resource planning to be effective, you must have the ability to forecast. So you must be able to anticipate the skill sets, time, and budget required to execute the work. So without these elements, your company can't achieve the visibility required to operate at maximum efficiency. So what is accurate forecasting? You have to be able to estimate the time your project will be finished and the different budget allocated for each needed material or payment for your people. Time and budget management. Like students who are also finishing certain requirements, your project will also need your ability to manage your time and budget wisely. So your resource plan should include the rates of the people scheduled to work on the project. Are you going to pay them per hour, per day, or is it going to be a contract of the entire project? Then the estimated time required to perform each task, as well as the overall budget. So in other words, the salary of the people who's going to help you with the project, and also how long will they be able to finish your project. Now, those are the different core elements of a resource plan. Now, we move on to the stages of a resource plan. So the first stage, identify resources. That's why even as you plan for the project, you have to also know what are the skills needed from each developer, as well as you should also understand that those skills are required for the project very much. So like, what is the urgent need? What is not the urgent need? So identify the people. So like in the diagram here, you identify the employee, the skill, and then it will be human resources who will do the recruitment for you and the training. After that, you should also, so you identify the resources. Now you procure your resources, you get them. So you have your assigned specific resources in your plan. Okay. So you have to use a management tool. You check the availability of individuals that meet the requirements and assign them to the project. Smaller projects are scheduled out fully, while more expensive or extensive projects may be broken down and scheduled by quarter. So you procure your resources now. Meaning, when you say procure, you get or obtain your resources. That's what it means. Next is you visualize your resources. So there are some managers who are still using Excel spreadsheets, and it's a resource management tool that simplifies the process by storing the information in one easily accessed, easily viewed location. From there, managers can drill down into specific resources to understand the current role, skills, rates, and availability. So visualize it like, what shall I need? Do I need computers per developer? Do I need an office for this, an extra room? Will I also need experts? So that's how you also visualize your resources. Imagine what your resources will be. Then you manage your resources. After you have visualized your resources, now you will also manage them. So you always have to ensure that the best person is available for the project. After you manage your resources, like you assigned, let's say, Juan de la Cruz for the front end, and then Miguel Bonifacio for the back end or database. So then you have to monitor your people and the resources. So after you have assembled them into a team, then you have, so tasked with project execution, you have the resource managers then shift into monitor and adjust mode. So they're gonna check, like this woman here, she's checking, okay, checking the progress of the team as regards the project, if they're on schedule or not. So now this will be the group work. Determine all the tasks that you have to be accomplished, that you have to accomplish in your selected project. There must be at least 20 tasks. Include tasks like meetings and documentation as part of your list. Then in a Word document, create a table with the following columns: tasks, assigned team member, estimated number of days per task. So, and last is create a work breakdown structure of the tasks you identified above. So that is the lesson about resource planning in order for you to achieve a successful IT project.